I don't like the thickness of this. I'll scale it out. So I'm going to grab that real quick as I look at it. It's good to check your object from time to time to check to make sure things are working the way you think. Okay, let me go back to here. Turn this the right direction. Center it on the object. Let's see if I scale better this time. Yeah. We're going to slope this in eventually, but for now, that's pretty good. Okay. And then, like, that stuff we'll take care of too. But, I mean, we're getting a gun basic form laid out. Okay, so I'm going to come back into, push this back out. Now, I could add a piece on here, or I could do an extrusion. I'm going to add a piece, because it'll be faster to model it from a box than it will be to try and pull out the exact pieces the way I want. So I'm going to insert, I'm going to come from, I'm going to come from a cube 3D, go to my cube like this. Sure, Shift F to see it. I'm going to pull it over here to this area, scale it down so it's in the right amount of volume, and then probably thin it the way out because it's really thin compared to the rest of the thing. The trigger is thinner. There. Let's go back up here and pull it up a little bit so it's inside of it. Okay. And then we'll come to here and back to Z modeler. And I'm just going to, oops. I did forget that I have to get rid of these. So Control or Shift over them, or Space bar over them, Alt to select, and it'll delete those edges for us. I don't mind the outside edges. Then I also want to make sure my transform is on correctly. So transform, activate symmetry, turn off X, go to Z because I want it front and back basically. Okay, I'm going to drag this. I'm going to drag this. Like this. And we'll come to this one and pull it over here. And then we'll come to this edge, insert an edge loop, and that way we can pull this in a little bit more. And if you want to get fancy, you can pull that edge loop and pull this out a little bit more. And then we're going to go to this side over here. I'm going to Control W for making all one thing. Go to polygroup, change it to polygroup 1 and 2. Oops, missed the first time. 1 and 2, like that. And then we're going to go to transform, which is polygroup, transpose, click on this, and of course everything else gets grayed out. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. I'm just transposing and pulling and scaling and transposing and pulling and scaling. I'm not even leaving the tool just to make this piece. And that's where we are. Okay. And then Control D, do this. Shift P, there we go, we're getting there. Shift P. Okay, so this one is a cylinder, and then it's setting this like apostrophe on the top of it. And if you look at that shot of the apostrophe from other directions, you can see it's kind of an oval shape. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's do this first part first. Actually, I'm gonna look at this real quick, and I wanna cut one more time right there and pull this down. All right, I decided to speed this up again. I'm just inserting a cylinder, getting it to the right shape and size. So 2 by 2 by 2. A 1 by 1 by 1 cylinder is a square, or is a cube. So anyway, and then I'm going to bring it up here and, you know, mess with the position and the size. And then I'm going to come in and change the polygroup for half of it, so I can delete half of it. And then I'm going to cut it up and I'm going to scale it to the right positions. There's really very little Z modeler stuff in here. The only real Z modeler stuff in here is probably removing some of the extra edges and cutting some more edges, and then moving the cuts I made around. But then after that, I'm done. You know, I do crease it actually too. I want to see what the crease looks like on it so I can see it's divided. or how when I smooth it out it's going to look. But that's it. And after you do that, then we move on to the apostrophe trigger. Now we need to insert the sphere. So we'll come down to insert, we'll go to polysphere, and then we're of course going to come down to initialize, and in initialize we're going to just make it a sphere, and then we're going to move it up to where we want it, like that, and then we're going to scale it. Again, I sped this up, taking it, scaling it to the right position. I am going to pull some transpose parts out of the center of the sphere to get it to be have that apostrophe look that we like, that we're going for. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Basically, I realized that I just need to, funny enough, divide it because it's on symmetry. I just did that one cut and then I removed the center one, so I got a flat edge. Then I figure out where the apostrophe comes from, and I just transpose, pull, scale, just like we did with the bottom piece, transpose, pull, scale, rotate a little bit, and we are done. I did come back in and see how it's going to look. We're going to lose some of that definition, so I did add a curve or a crease on those edges right there inside of ZModeler, and that's it. And then this piece up here. And this piece I'm not super worried about. That'll be a last minute edge piece, and this one too. This piece, okay. Let's just do these pieces. Okay, so this is obviously either a cylinder, because you can see this rounded edge, or a box. Now, the question you need to put to yourself is, what's harder to make, a cylinder or a box? For me, a cylinder is harder to make than the other. So I'm going to use a cylinder. So I'm going to come in here, go insert, go to... Okay, so I'm sped this up again because we're just pulling this down and using the transpose tool inside of the ZModeler to pull out the faces. It's pretty round at that point, and then it's straight on the other side. So what we're going to do, and I did point out that this is actually a narrow piece, but we're going to Boolean that out when we get a final size set up. So now we're going to transpose it out, pull it out, and we should be good to go. Then we'll extend the other side and maybe do something about that slope on the far right or on the far left, and then we'll talk about how that round piece and that piece that sticks up is actually a separate piece. And I didn't even bother putting them in right now, but we will, but see how they're separate. And that's it. Okay, now we're going to jump to, again, I sped it up, jump to just doing the pulling the box in, putting it in for this piece, and then we're going to use the align tool to get that nice rounded edge, or at least blocked in edge piece that we want, and then we'll go on to the next piece. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is these pieces in here. And let's take a closer look at these pieces in here on the model that we're looking at here. Those are the pieces. This piece sits on top, and then it's got the firing pin and all the other junk inside of here. So, what do we do and what don't we do? Right now, all we need is a box and a cylinder. So we'll come up here, we'll go to, we won't insert, and we'll say cube, and then we're going to say cube, and then we're going to say W, make it thin, move it over, make it thin, obviously short. This one's the easiest, right? I'll zoom in here. Lift it up. And then I think that's too thick. I think it's just a piece of thin metal. Don't worry about the other side. We'll get to that. Move it out. It's the problem with not having the actual diagram, but that's fine.